Hello, hello, welcome. Today, I want to talk to you about troubleshooting your blog. Really, a blog is the best way to do a couple of things for your small business. First of all, it helps to provide value for your existing clients, so it continues to nurture relationships with them. It also helps educate potential clients that come to your website. Maybe they found you through a search engine, or maybe they were referred to you and want to check you out before booking. But it's a nice way to introduce them to your services and your expertise. And it's also a way of letting Google and Bing and all the search engines that people are using know that you are an expert in your chosen field or niche. And the more you update your blog regularly with quality content, the higher your rankings are going to be on those search engine sites. So a blog is a really important tool to use for your website. It's not hard to have a really great blog, but there are some key elements that are important to do from the outset. So if you're just starting out, this is a great video for you because it'll give you some do's and don'ts and tips to do. But it will also, if you have an existing blog, this will help kind of troubleshoot what you've been doing and how you can kind of fine tune your blog so that it ranks a little better and provides a little bit more value to the people that are coming to your website. So let's get started. I picked out 3 health and wellness blogs that I found. I did a Google search with some keywords like yoga in my area, yoga blogs, personal training blogs, and I came across these 3 blogs that I thought were really good examples. So let's get started. So first up here with Serenity Yoga Therapy, I love that, they have their logo up at the top. This is great. They also have a little chat box here, which came up as soon as I typed in their website and clicked on their blog. This little chat box came up, which can be a nice feature. Sometimes, especially for a blog, people are looking for information that might be a useful tool that you want to consider. But we're really here to just read, right? So the title of this blog is Earth is Talking, Are You Listening? And I found that to be a pretty compelling title because it kind of pulls you in. So I thought it was a good way to title this blog, because people are going to be like, well, what is Earth saying? What does this person think Earth is saying? And, I think especially now with climate change and people wanting to be more eco-conscious, they want to be listening. They want to be the ones that are in the know. So this is a good title to kind of bring people in. So I went in and started reading, and you can see it starts here with kind of a bigger type font, which without having access to the back end, it's hard for me to tell. But what's unusual about it is we start out at one type font and then we go really small. And just from a user perspective, this is a lot of text to kind of scroll through. One thing to keep in mind is you're going to probably have a lot of mobile users. And that being the case, you're going to want to have more white space. And so how you do that is you have smaller paragraphs. I'm thinking 2 to 4 sentences tops to a paragraph. And I know this kind of goes against essay writing of our school days, but this is different type of writing. This is marketing writing. And so 2 to 4 sentences tops, so that you have short paragraphs, and you want to break them up with like bullet points, quotes, headers, or images, videos, any other type of media that you can add to the blog to make it look visually appealing, to add more different types of information. but also make it easier for people that are on that mobile device to scroll through and get kind of the nuggets of information that you want to compel. Because with scrolling comes a lot of skimming. They're not reading every single word of your paragraphs. So keep that in mind when you're reading, because I did, you see here, you have one huge paragraph, then you have it's kind of broken up here with a sentence, but it's not a header, okay? And then another huge paragraph, okay? So I would definitely chunk these paragraphs up into like 3 to 5 little paragraphs to make it easier for mobile users. The other thing is, and then she does have a quote here. Something like this quote, really nice to add. Like I said, it's another way to kind of call out bits of information that you want to make sure that people are skimming or taking notice of. She bolded it here, but what I would do also is I would increase the size of this font. I would make it like an H3 header, so it's slightly bigger than the rest of the text. So that it really draws the eye and people really get what, that you want people to read this. That's why you've called it out. So make it visually something that people are going to spot right away. And that's it. Very short blog. A few years ago, we could get away with like a 500-word blog updated, a couple times a month, and it would help with our search engine rankings. But now there's so much competition out there, and there's so many people competing for the same spaces like yoga, wellness, health. You're really going to want your blogs to be longer. And Google tends to think that the longer the blog is, as long as it's not like keyword stuffing, but typically the longer the blog is, it generally has more value information to users. And the reason for that is because those longer blogs are probably answering follow-up questions to what people might have after they've typed in a keyword. So let's say I'm a user and I type in yoga benefits, the benefits of yoga, and it takes me to an article. So an article that's just 500 words, like, here's the physical benefits of yoga. And then I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting, but could it have other benefits as well? Could it benefit my mental health as well? So a longer article that kind of thinks about other questions that might come up and have it kind of, you want to troubleshoot what people are going to continue asking when they're reading your content, will rank higher than these shorter form articles. And you'll notice I haven't even talked about her content, right? These are all just kind of the nuts and bolts. And that's not to say that content isn't important. It is. And in this case, what I would like to say about this one is it's typically kind of like a journal about her trip to Phoenix, talking a little bit about about COVID, about the earth, about the natural resource. And this is where I find a lot of solopreneurs go, I don't want to say wrong, but they do a disservice for themselves with their blog because they do tend to treat it like a diary. And really, when you do that, the blog then becomes all about you, all about your experience, and all about what's going on with you. But people are typically coming to blogs to answer a question that they have, or to share an experience they have, or to solve a problem that they might have. So a blog is a really big opportunity to speak to your potential clients and your existing client base about why you are the solution to their problems. So with this, rather than talking about maybe my own feelings about what is going on in the world, you can get into that, but then bring it back to the person who's reading it. Like I said, in the beginning, the title is great. Earth is talking. Are you listening? Tell me, what's Earth saying? And have that be one of the headers here. This is what's going on in the world. We've got climate change. We've got the coronavirus. We've got, people who are losing their job at an exponential rate. List out things in under a header, and then in another section, talk about what people could be doing. You know, you're listening, so now here's what you do about it. So now you're aware of the problem, here's what you can do. And bring it around to your services. Like, this is where my services can help you be a better eco-conscious person, or be more mindful of what's going on in the world, so that you can start to integrate solutions into your day-to-day life. And that's where your content has to be a little bit more thought out than just a stream of consciousness. This is what I'm going through, this is what I'm doing. That might be nice for like social media, especially you know, Instagram, when people are they really want to like peek behind the curtain and see behind the scenes with especially with health and wellness practitioners. They love to know, what are you eating, where are you going, where are you traveling, you know, how are you living your day-to-day life. That's great for those types of things, but your blog really should serve a different purpose. And the purpose is client driven. You want to provide value to their client. And while it might be interesting a little bit to get into your own personal journey and struggle, it really shouldn't be treated as a diary. It really should be more of like an article, informational, educational, and it can have, you know, peeks into your humor, your personality with the way that you write the content. So that's my first one. The second one is a personal training center and a personal training clinic. And what I liked about this one is personal training program, which this is probably a keyword phrase that they're trying to rank for. So we have a two-part title here. And so this is something to consider. If you have done your keyword research and there are certain phrases that you're trying to rank for, you're going to want to use them in your titles the way they have here. They put it, it doesn't really necessarily matter if it's at the top of your title or at the end, but you know, they use the little bracket here to differentiate, but it's personal training program, and then how to train an obese couple. What I like about this title is I could definitely see a personal trainer Googling this. You know, maybe they have been hired by a couple that has weight problem. They've never worked with that particular group of people before, and they're like, huh, is it different? What should I look out for? What should I troubleshoot? How do I treat someone with this particular parameters? So really good title here. We're just going to go through and just kind of scroll through the content. So as you can see, they have super small paragraphs like we talked about. So this is good. Super small paragraphs that'll make that people that are using a mobile device, it'll be easier for them to kind of scroll through, skim, get the information. But what I will say is it goes right into a list, right? So with this one, I'm going to talk a little bit about writing content. So it's the number one problem most personal trainers have is how to program. It goes right into a list. I would get a little bit more into agitating the problem. Why is it a problem for personal trainers? Does it take too much time? Is it too complicated? You know, really make it more personal and more build up into your list. Lists are great because typically they help kind of answer a lot of questions that people are looking into. But you don't want to just get right into the list. You want to get into why you're doing the list in the first place. Now, the other thing to consider is this right here before number one is a great place to have your H2 header, which again, search engines are looking into headers just to get kind of an overview of what content is in this article. So this is how to train an obese couple. Then we're talking about problems that the problem that personal trainers have is how to program. Then I would give this a header, something to do with that. You know, the top programs personal trainers have difficulty with. Something there, but use it as an H2 header to kind of break it up. The other thing I would do is add some images. You know, people we're so used to having things be visually attractive, but the truth is they also help, especially with people that are skimming, well-placed images help support your content so that people don't have to read every word. They can kind of, if the picture is chosen carefully and goes along with the content, people will get the message without having to read everything there. And face it, they're not reading every single word. So put some pictures in there, put a video in there, put an interview in there, but break it up somehow. We scroll all the way down and you see here's an H2 header here, programming for beginners. Now the thing about this is that's pretty general, programming for beginners. So if I were Google and I'm running my little algorithm and I'm looking at your H2 headers, I don't really know what this programming for beginner or what. Anybody could be a beginner. It could be, is it a beginning, someone who takes personal training? Is it for the trainers themselves? So I would fine tune that a little bit to make it more valuable to your website to help boost those rankings. I would call it programming for beginner personal trainers. And again, that way you're getting your keywords into a title there again. So that'll help boost your rankings as well. These paragraphs are a little bit longer, especially this one. I would probably break that up. I definitely would break that up. And then we have our first picture. I would definitely use more of those. And then here we go, our second header down here, which is great. How to train a couple, obese. Okay. Again, I would either add how to personally train an obese couple, or how to train an obese couple with personal training. Again, you need to get a little bit more specific here because, search engines are just, they're scrolling through your site and they're not gonna get it, right? If you don't tell them what it's about, they're not gonna get it. They're not gonna be able to infer it. And no one's gonna take the time to do that. So, add those keywords in so people and search engines can really know what the article's about. And then we've got some nice pictures here. The other thing is, if you're not going to do headers, like this is a list here, a numbered list, I would use some bold type on these little titles here, since we're not including a space between them, just to kind of call them out. Again, this is more not necessarily about the content itself, but how it looks, about how it's formatted. But if you call out those words a little bit, either by increasing the font size or making them bold, it makes it easier for people that are just kind of scrolling through. Because the other thing is, people are looking for the part of your article that pertains to them. Maybe not everything pertains to them, or some of the information they may know, so they're looking for the part that they don't. So make sure to format it in such a way that you can call out the important bits. And part of that is with bolding, using headers, italicizing, using quotes, those kind of things. And then we finish out here. So again, we had a couple pictures. They were really far down. I would definitely add at least one, maybe two more photos, break up some of those bigger paragraphs. And then let's look at the content itself. Like I said in the beginning, I definitely would have added more of an introduction here. I would definitely have a header here so that we know what you're talking about, what this list actually is. Improving the headers here. So we have programming for beginners, how to train a couple. Okay. Partner workout, which I'm not sure how to train a couple and how a partner workout is different. So I might rework that header to make it a little more clear. But the one thing too, is there isn't a conclusion. And so your conclusion really is just kind of reiterating what you're sharing, what the important elements of the article are, but it's also where you can include a call to action. Their call to action really is to comment, But this is a nice place where you can ask people to either read another blog. You can point them to another blog, like, hey, here's some articles that are in line with this, with the same topic you might be interested in, and take them to another link them to another article. Or if you have the capability on your website, you can actually have them sign up for your mailing list, which ultimately that's what we want. We want to build our mailing list. So I would definitely have added a conclusion here. And as part of my conclusion, either point them to an article that really supports what they're learning here, or having them sign up for our email list so they can get more information about the kind of work that we're doing. But overall, pretty good. Our next one is another yoga studio. This one is geared for children. And let's get into it. So breathing activities for kids. I like it. I have a feeling a lot of parents, especially now during the coronavirus, are doing this kind of search, like, okay, I need some relaxation for my kids. So this is a nice kind of evergreen title, a blog post that can stay on your blog forever. They start out with a nice paragraph introduction, a couple paragraphs introduction. And then again here, you can tell because they've started bolding, which I do recommend when you have these kind of lists, bolding the first few of the paragraph, but they don't have a header. So what I would do is do an H2 header here, and whether it's popular breathing exercises for children or something, a variation of that, I would add a H2 header there. We have some images, which are nice. I would make these a little bigger. They're really small. And like this one looks like a mudra, which is a gesture that you make with your hands. I'm not quite sure how that pertains to the article, since this is about breathing exercises. So I would go, oh, here we go. Pranayama with fingers. Perfect. Okay, but I would increase that picture. I would probably move it up so it's actually with the paragraph that it's talking about. And again, here's another picture. I would definitely make that bigger, just so it's a little bit more visually eye-catching. Something that I haven't talked about, but they do and is very nice, is they do some interlinking. So there's a couple important ways to link for your website. One way is interlinking, and that is where you interlink between one page on your site to another page. So they're taking you with Pom Pom Basketball to an article that they have written about what Pom Pom Basketball is. And that's just, again, without telling people like, hey, here's another article you should read. It's just a nice way of sending someone to another page on your site, because ultimately you want them to spend more time on your site. Or outer linking, which is where you link out to an outside source. And I didn't notice it on the first two that we've been to. Yeah, these are all theirs. And this one too, not out of the three, none of them have done this. They haven't linked to an outside source. Now, I know that as a practitioner and as a solopreneur and as a small business, we tend to be, oh, I want to keep people on my site as long as I can. And so they don't want to encourage people to click off at all. But here is the thing. Google is looking at the amount of outbound links that you have, and they look at those to help establish your expertise and knowledge around your niche. So you want to have an outbound link in each blog. You want to have at least one. I do recommend having it later on in the article, because you want people to stay in your article as long as possible, but have an outbound link to a reputable site. you know, give them a statistic, you know, 55 million children do yoga every year, and link it to Harvard, or link it to science says that yoga has been linked to better sleep, and link it to a study. Because when Google is kind of scrolling through your site, it will see those and it will help establish your expertise, because they look at your expertise, your authoritativeness, your trustworthiness, and that all goes into your search engine rankings. Okay, so you're going to want to have at least one outbound link. And actually, okay, these are all secure sites too. I wanted to just make sure everybody has a secure site, because that also goes to that trustworthiness. So here they've done their interlinking. They've sent you to another article on their site, which is great, but they don't have an outbound link. So definitely consider adding one to all of your articles, at least one later on down in the article. Just send like, hey, give them a statistic, give them something that they know that you're doing the work of knowing everything you can about your subject. They do have a conclusion here. Before I have this paragraph, I would have a header that says conclusion, just so they know they're done. And they have a little a call to action here. The only thing about their call to action here is it just kind of is general. It says check out our website. I would most likely have linked that to something else, or have a call to action to sign up for our email newsletter, sign up for blog post updates, or here's an article again that supports this article and is kind of in the same that we think you might be interested in, and send them to the next one you want them to read. So I would give them a little bit more versus, you know, visit our website. They're already on your website. They're here. They're checking it out. So a little bit more in depth than that, but they do at least have a conclusion. And then they do have submit a comment, which is nice. One thing, because I know not everyone, I'm going to close these. I have a little blog post here. That's not the title. So I wanted to just make sure people understood what I meant by headers. So this is my title. You can see that this is just in Google Docs, but when you're setting it up and you're formatting it in your WordPress or whatever blog, or whatever web hosting you're doing it in, it's all pretty much the same. But this is what I mean by headers. So this is your title, which would be an H1 header. But typically you want at least one H2 header, which you see, this is our H2 header here, and it's a smaller font size, but bigger than your paragraph text. And again, you want to have keyword phrases in there. We're working on reduce back pain. If you have, this one does not have it, but let's say you have simple stretches to reduce back pain, and then down here you want to add specific, these are yoga stretches for back pain. So it's not quite its own, it's kind of a subcategory of the H2 header. Then I would make that an H3 header. And Google looks at all of these. Okay, so the headers are very important. It's in broad strokes, that's where they're looking for a lot of your keywords, and a lot of, that's how they establish whether an article has value or not. And again, the longer, the better. The more you can flesh out the article and answer questions that crop up around. You know, I think one of the biggest problems I see with practitioners that write their own blogs is they either tend to write it like it's a diary, or they write it from their place of expertise. So they already know everything about the subject, but they take for granted what people might not know. Like, let's say you're looking at yoga health benefits, and you're like, well, it's just great, it's just, it helps you, you're just healthier. It's like, well, how does it help? Does it help your sleep? Does it help your anxiety? Does it help you keep the weight off? Does it, try to flesh out and think of all the combination of questions around the topic and address them in that one article. And you may find you don't have as much time to write 20 or 30 articles. Maybe you're just doing 5 or 6. But the fact that you're doing these longer, higher quality articles will actually benefit you more than if you are doing 20 or 30, just 500-word articles. So go longer. The longer, the better. I would say 1,000 to 2,000 words is kind of our happy place. Even more if you can do it. And there are ways, and I can't express enough how valuable a blog is. Like I said, it helps with your search engine, but it also can be used for your social media content. Use the content, break it up into small posts. One, you can send people to your website like, hey, you like this post? Explore, do a deeper dive on our blog and send people to your website. But 1,000 to 2,000 word article can give you a week or 2 of content for your social media. And when you repurpose content in that way, it will free up so much more time. So it's a really valuable tool, and I can't recommend it enough. But I hope this has helped you kind of troubleshoot your existing blog, or given you some ideas if you're looking to start a blog for your health and wellness business. But that's all I have for you today, and I look forward to speaking to you next time. Bye.